If you know DATEDIF in Google Sheets and are familiar with Excel, you sure want to use the same function in Excel. While Excel doesn't have the same function as Google Sheets, there is another similar function in both of the programs, so in Google Sheets and in Excel, where you can also find out how many days there are between two dates. Of course, in Google Sheets, if you use DATEDIF, there are options for month and weeks, but you can kind of figure that out by just multiplying them or dividing them. So we're gonna have a look at a little table with maybe familiar dates. I just used the same. And we will take a look at the function days. It's just days. And you also see there is a days 360. And it's just in a year. So I prefer that one. And it also needs an end and a start date. And we use the same again. And we just close it. So again, there's 0 between the same date. And we can again fix that and autofill that. Now you see there's a minus before. The reason behind that is I used the first date as the end date. So that's different than DATEDIF. DATEDIF, you have to have the start date before the end date. In days, you don't have to have that. You can have negative days, kind of. So be sure to look in which position, in which value the end and the start date has to go. Because you see, I just entered the same as last time. But if I take a look at the days function, the end date is on the first. So the first value is the end date. While if I take a look at DATEDIF, the start date is the first value. So just keep that in mind, and now we are turning them around and make the second value this date, and just put it down. And now we have the positive values. Just make sure that you don't switch them over. So now for weeks, months, and years, well, you just have to calculate. So you just have to divide the days through the number of days in a week for this example, so 7. And you can just autofill that and have that. Well, if you don't want to have like commas, like decimal places, then just you can just press this little button and the decimal positions just disappear. So now you have weeks. For month, well, that's a little bit tricky because you know months not always have the same length. So if we look for January, February, March, then we have 31, 28, or 29, depending on the year, and again 31. So in 3 months you have 90 days. But if you look at August, September, oh, July, August, and September, then you have 31, 31, and 30. So you have 92 days in 3 months. I always like to calculate with 30 and a half. So I take the days and just divide them by 30.5. That's how I want to calculate it. Of course, you're free to just use 30 or 31, whatever you prefer. Or if you know the exact, you can just say, okay, what days are there between? And then just find average if you want it that way. But you can just do it that way. And again, if you don't want the decimal points, just let them disappear. Now, if you want, you can also, if you see, I'm just using that in these functions. But of course, I can use the days function, so days, end date, start date, and just divide it straight in here. And 365, and we have a year. So now we also fixate that again, and voila. And again, you can just let them disappear with that. And now, if you're wondering why there is a little bit over a year or over 2 years, well, the difference between DATEDIF and DAYS is, or one of the difference is that DAYS includes end and start date. So we have a little bit over a year because it counts the last day to its fullest. So, or the started to its fullest, however you want to see it. DATEDIF only counts one of both. And so there's a little bit extra, but we can still just let it disappear and it looks like a 1 and everything is fine. Now you see, in Google Sheets, DATEDIF is a little bit more convenient. So I prefer to use that. But that's it for Google Sheets. Now let's take a look at Excel. As you can see, I have the same values and I'm just entering days. And I show the function here, so you see the information. Here's the same. The end date is the first position. The first value you enter is the end position. So it's exactly the same as in Google Sheets. Oh. And again, you can just fixate it and copy that down. It's the same. And also if I fill out the rest of the table, it's always the same. And has the same values as in Google Sheets. So here's the same principle. If you want the decimal places to disappear, there's also a button therefore. So you have here in this section by numbers the two buttons for increase decimal and decrease decimal, and just press this button and they're disappearing. And that's basically all for days, for the days function. So now if you want to learn a little bit more about the DATEDIF function in Google Sheets, you can look up here. I will link the video up there. And in the other corner, I will link the newest video of my channel. So as soon as there is a new one, you see it.